The Gradebook feature in Haiku LMS includes the ability for you, the teacher, to organize your grades and assignments into categories. I'm logged into the class Around the World in 80 Days as a teacher, and I want to see my gradebook. So I go to the Assess tab and choose Grades. Currently I have only one gradebook set up, and I know that because I can click on the Grades tab, and then I see that I only have one here, and it's actually just called Grades. I can create an additional gradebook by clicking the Add Gradebook button, and I'll go ahead and do that now so we can start from scratch, and I'll make this gradebook for, let's say, the summer term. At this point, I can decide if I want to use categories in this gradebook, but I'm not ready to make that decision yet. I'll go ahead and leave that unchecked. I'll leave the other settings at their defaults, so rounding to the nearest 2 decimal points, displaying grades as percent and as a grade, and then we'll cover notation set and special score notation set in separate tutorials, so we'll leave those default settings as well. So I'm ready to click the Save button. And now I'm on my new gradebook called Summer Term. In the future, if I want to have categories for this gradebook, I can turn them on by choosing Edit, Edit Gradebook, and now we have the option to use Gradebook Categories. So I click that box and then click the Save button. To actually manage the categories then, because I haven't actually created any, return to the Edit menu, and now I have an option for Manage Categories. So I go ahead and click that. If my categories are going to affect the weight that a grade has, my Haiku class can do that automatically with values that I give it. So for instance, if I want the grades of tests to have more weight than the grades of homework, I can have my Haiku class do that for me. So I'll go ahead and turn on category weighting, and I can see that weights now display with categories as well. There are a number of ways I could organize my gradebook. For instance, I may want to organize assignments by unit, so Unit 1, Unit 2, etc. If it's a class that includes multiple subjects, I may want to break my gradebook down into subject, like science or math, or I may want to break it down into assignment type, which is what I'll do in this example. So I want to break it down into types, like tests, and projects, and homework. Now I can set the weight that I want each of those categories to have. So for instance, tests I want to be worth more, so I want that to be, let's say, 40% of the grade. For projects, those are also important, and I want those to be 30. And I want homework to be important as well. So I'm going to make that 40. Hit my Tab button. Haiku is showing me the total weight equals more than 110%. So one thing I can do is to have my Haiku class automatically distribute those for me. So I click this little icon here, and the values have changed to be as close to equal as possible. Now I'm ready to go add assignments. Click the Save button here. And just as a reminder, those are categories set up in my summer term gradebook. I have another gradebook, simply called Grades, that does not use categories. Now when I add a gradebook entry, like an assignment, I have additional options for what data goes into the gradebook. I can see near the bottom of the page that by default, the Create Gradebook Entry box is checked. There's a total point value for the assignment, and I can also select which gradebook this entry will go in. So for instance, I have Summer Term, which is the gradebook I just created, and then I have the categories that I created within the Summer Term gradebook. So again, those are tests, projects, and homework. If I would choose Grades, which as a reminder is the gradebook that does not have categories, I obviously do not have the option to choose a category. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make this a Unit 1 test, just so you can see what happens in the gradebook. And for the sake of time, I will skip detail. I will give it a due date of next week, and it's 100 points. I will put this in the summer term gradebook, which uses those categories. Category I'm selecting is tests, and I'll go ahead and show it in the assignment block for my class. And just choose the top block for demonstration purposes. And I click the Save button. And now I can see I am back on the summer term gradebook. And here is the entry I just added. I can see the summary when I hover over it, including the category. And because this gradebook uses categories, I can change what information displays here. So by default, I'm seeing all assignments that are in all categories. But if I just want to see tests, for instance, I can choose Show and then select my category. Now in this case, we obviously have only one assignment, so all we'll see is that one assignment. But the idea is that any test that you had entered would be listed here, and the same would be true for the other categories as well. You may also want to check out the tutorials on creating gradebook notations and creating special score notations.